Hello, welcome to the Brain Scrub, a somewhat improvised approach to mental health. My name is Glenn Sollers, and thanks for tuning in today. Summer is almost over. It's the end of August. I had a great summer, and especially August was a lot of fun. Even July was a lot of fun. Actually, every month in the summer was a lot of fun. Did a lot of outdoor adventure things such as kayaking, multi-day hiking trips, spending a week on an island with some friends of ours, and I happen to live on an island as well, and spent time with the community, and it was great. That leads me to today's topic around community and cracks that can form within families, communities, organizations, and the impact these cracks can have on others. I being the cause of cracks in communities. And there's things that I do that rub people the wrong way. And there's things that other people do. And we all have our dark side and we have our light side. We all have the devil side. We all have the angel side. And it's important to have that foundation of understanding that we're all very different. And sometimes what happens in family dynamics or community dynamics is we see somebody or witness somebody misbehaving, that they're doing things they should not be doing. And it has maybe a personal impact on us, how we feel about ourselves, which leads to how do we feel about the other person. But it can also be that individual is doing something that's having a greater impact on everybody else, but that individual doesn't seem to get it. And that can also cause a crack. And then what happens after that is people in the community or the family, they start talking about this other individual. And that's normal and natural because we want to be able to have support. And that's a great thing to actually talk about things. However, just like a strong community of individuals or a family unit, one crack can cause dysfunction amongst the entire unit. And this happens again in organizations where if there's a problem that's not addressed, many people are impacted. I've seen this in our community where one individual is just being who they are. And other individuals start talking about who they are, and that's okay. But then that individual's no longer part of the other individuals to a great extent, which creates a sense of awkwardness. Or if two individuals in a community don't seem to get along, then everybody else in that community, like for me, kind of walking on tiptoes around what do we do here? How do we work with this new dynamic within our community? And this is tough because we have get-togethers, we have parties, we have events that we do, and it creates a feeling of awkwardness for me. And maybe that's just my own learning, is I need to be okay with the awkwardness. And most of us want everybody to be happy and everybody to get along. This brings me back to the original point. We all have a good side and we have a bad side. The problem can arise when I start focusing on the bad side of individuals. They are this way, and I am an expert at doing that. And then I start to talk to others about what I experienced in that individual. And we get this thing called agreement reality, that getting agreement that my reality is true about this individual, and then that can taint my future experiences with that person or the other person's future experiences with that person, because then we start forming a belief about somebody and then we want to find evidence that we are right about that individual. And I've spoke about this in other episodes. And then we start finding fault, but then realize that that person has some good qualities as well. And what are those good qualities? Because we all have annoying tendencies. Like the other day, I was at a get together with some amazing friends of mine, and there were some other individuals there, and I made a comment which was intended to be a joke, which disclosed some information that was said to us, and I can assume it was done in a way of keep this to yourself, Glenn. And I made a joke about it to get a laugh. So it was meeting my own personal needs. And that's the first thing, is to understand what needs are violated or what needs have we imposed on others. That it might be our core needs. Like for me, it's recognition, and I like to make people laugh. I want people to have a good time. So I said this, but I didn't think about the other side. And I could see on the individuals' faces that they were a bit shocked that I said what I said. I felt bad about it the entire night. And the next day I contacted the individual and I apologized for my actions. And I said, I shouldn't have said this. It broke the trust that we have in our relationship, and I am sorry. And they said, it's okay, Glenn. Don't worry about things so much. And I think it's important to worry about things sometimes, because these little things can build up. And if we don't take the time to step back and address things, or ask simple questions in the moment, what did you mean by that? Or letting somebody know what you just said offended me. And this happened to me yesterday with a friend of mine who I needed some advice from on a relationship dynamic that I'm dealing with in my family, and whether I should be involved or not, because I feel that if I get involved, then I'm adding my value to the relationship. I'm trying to preserve the relationship. I'm trying to help the individuals out. And is that the right thing, or is it just a selfish thing that I'm doing? And that person then said something about me, and I had to address it in the moment. Okay, well, this is what's going on. I don't really appreciate it. And this becomes important in my perspective in family units and in communities. That, number one, if somebody upsets us, let them know. Sometimes we need to stew on it, but if we don't deal with it, it just creates awkwardness, disconnection amongst close-knit groups. That's number one, is to address the conflict, because it has a snowball effect. If we don't address something, even if it's a minor behaviors, it can get bigger and bigger and bigger and wipe out a whole bunch of individuals. Number two is to really do a bit of self-reflection around, why is it that their action had an impact on me? How do I feel about it? What is that saying about me? Is it true? Am I taking it too seriously? Or maybe I do the same thing myself sometimes, and they're just doing what I'm doing, but I'm taking offense to it. And there's this term out there called, you spot it, you got it. If you see something in somebody else that upsets you, you might do the same thing yourself. And it's a great self-reflection point around, what is a need, an underlying need that I have that this person just hit. Number three is to consider that that person who said whatever they said, they have their own stuff that they're dealing with. They have their own needs. Maybe it's a need for attention. Maybe it's a need for control. Maybe it's a need to have everybody be happy. Maybe they're just very outspoken. Whatever it might be. What is it that they may not be aware of? Do they have malicious intent in what they're saying? Are they maybe just going based on these core needs that they have? And like I do this, where I say something and then I realize, geez, I shouldn't have said that. That was very inappropriate. That might have hurt somebody. But sometimes we don't know that we hurt somebody. We're just being who we're being. And then when we're addressing this with other people, to let them know, this is how it made me feel. This is the impact it had on me. And this is what I need from you or from the situation. The challenge, again, is that with individuals out there, we can see their bad side. It's easy to point out people's bad sides. They're doing this. And you know what? It's fun being negative sometimes. It's not nice to look at the bad things in others, because that makes us feel better. Like, wow, at least I don't do that. At least I'm not that way. Or are you? What are those things that you do? And this is a great reflection point that might annoy other people. What are the gifts you bring? We all have them. I sometimes can be very inappropriate in my language. I can say things sometimes that upset other people. I do hurt people unintentionally through my directness. And sometimes I just want to help people out, which also can push people away. So that's the stuff that doesn't always work. But there's so many things out there, so many gifts that I have that do work. I build community. I help lead teams. In my community here, I generally lead a cycling group. And I get people to come together. I am easy to talk to. I help people understand, well, what is it that I'm doing that might be getting in the way? I am generally a really good listener. But again, I have the dark side, and I have the side that is the angel side. We all have it. And in these situations where you might be triggered by somebody else, to bring it up. Because if we don't, it creates a dysfunction amongst the entire community or team. And then everybody's walking on eggshells. Everybody doesn't know what to do. Like when we have our next dinner, who should we invite? Who shouldn't we invite? And then those individuals might feel disconnected. These conversations are not easy. And another way I like to look at these things is if I did something or said something that offended other people, would I, A, want people not to tell me, B, have people tell me and the impact it had, or C, just to let it go? I would probably want people to let me know what I did, because those things that I say or do may not just be impacting that individual, but they could be impacting others. Now, if I lived in my own little home and I had no friends and I was just like a hermit in my own surroundings and I only had to worry about me, it doesn't matter what I say or what I do. I can say anything I want. But as soon as I start interacting with other people or have other people in my life, I now need to consider my words. The last thing I want to talk about is a situation I'm dealing with right now. And it's very disturbing for me because these two individuals are really important in my life. And this can happen in a relationship dynamic as well, where one person may feel a certain way about themselves and the other person is doing things to reinforce the negative opinion or belief that person has about themselves. In this situation, the person feels like they are inadequate, that they're not good enough, that they're a failure. And the other person, and I see this happening, treats this individual like they are, but that individual allows that other person to treat them that way because they don't want to speak up. Sometimes we bring people into our life that reinforce our core feelings about who we are or our core beliefs. I brought in a lot of bullies in my life because I felt like I'm not good enough. And these people just represented that for me. They helped me reinforce that belief that I'm not good enough. I deserve to be bullied. Bully me, and I'll take it. I never addressed it with these individuals, but I never addressed it within myself. So I may label somebody a certain way, but then they probably don't have malicious intent in what they're doing. But because of my core belief about myself, you are doing things that empower that belief, that make it so true, and our brain likes us to live into our truth, into our core beliefs about who we are. And we tend to bring people in our lives that may trigger these core beliefs we have about ourselves. Some people definitely have malicious intent. There are individuals out there that have certain personality disorders where they will do something to make you feel small, inadequate, meaningless, and get those people out of your life for sure. But for most of us, we don't do that. Most of us, we're okay, but we just have learned behaviors that we use with our friends and family based on our historical tendencies and what we've learned from our parents and how they parented us and the friends that we've been a part of. And then we start doing whatever has worked in the past. And then we bring that to our community, to our teams, to our family, and wonder why is something going on. Now, there's the other side as well. And there's a side of the person that may have a void in their life. And this could be a bully. And they want to feel good about themselves because maybe they don't feel good about themselves. But if I bully others, maybe I don't perceive it as bullying. But if I control the situation, if I speak my mind, then I'm going to feel good about myself. And with this person here, I can do that. And that forms the relationship. But then we might start talking about how that person is this way and I'm this way. So here's where I'm getting at with this is, so in this situation I'm dealing with, this person doesn't feel good about themselves. This other person, I don't think feels good about themselves as well. And they don't talk about it really. They have this facade, in my opinion, of I'm all good. Everything's great. I do everything well. And then they might need that because maybe they never felt that way when they were younger. And then this individual comes into their life and then they can even feel more that way because this person doesn't feel good enough. And therefore I need to be the person that's in charge of the relationship. And they feed off each other. But that can only last a certain amount of time, and that can lead to things like passive aggressiveness. It can lead to things like not speaking up. It can lead to sweeping things under the rug and not having dialogue about these types of things, which leads to more dysfunction. And that then impacts other people because other people see this relationship dynamic unfolding. And then I want nothing more than for these two individuals to have a conversation, but also for them to get real with themselves on these are the things that I'm doing. So the person who's not good enough, they are very negative about things. They complain about other people. They point out the faults in others. But inside, they have this same feeling about themselves. So when you're hurt inside, sometimes you want to look at others and see their negative attributes because it might make us feel a bit better about ourselves. But it doesn't get anywhere other than creating disconnection. The other thing is, Leonard Cohen has a song called Anthem, and it's about we all have a crack in who we are. Crack lets the light come in, which allows us to see more about ourselves and how we might be showing up. So the other individual, if they have a facade of everything's good, there's no crack there. And I've learned it's okay to be with the crack and let things come in and have that self-awareness and understand my actions might be contributing to somebody's own personal beliefs about themselves. And maybe I'm making the situation worse versus talking about it. Full circle here. This all comes back to dialogue, to have courageous conversations, to let people know what's going on. And that has so many benefits, such as reduced stress, reduced anxiety, improved connections with other people, greater happiness, more peace of mind, not running away from situations or from communities or from families because things just are not working out, but you're dealing with the shit. You're cleaning it up. You're taking care of it. And maybe as you're doing this, you and this other individual decide this relationship's not going to work out, and that's okay. We and I don't have to get along with everybody. We don't. There is an impact. And to understand what that impact is, and are we willing to be with that impact, what is the ripple effect of it on other people? Or discussing with this individual, what are the boundaries we have with each other? So that we can still be in community, we can still be in relation, we can still be a team. But how do we agree to work together? We don't have to like each other, but how will we be with one another? And who knows, that may grow into a stronger relationship down the road. Folks, let the cracks emerge in families, in community. They're okay. Let some light come in, and through doing that, it can lead to resolution, peace of mind, and happiness. Thanks for listening.